We shall never surrender.
One small step for man.
I have a dream. Ask not what your country can do for you.
What's the status quo of your favorite quote? Professor Buzzkill explains all on Quote or No Quote.
You know, Buzzkillers, every time the anniversary of D-Day, that is June the 6th, rolls around, myths, historical urban legends, and downright fabrications about the Allied invasion of Normandy and the opening up of the Western Front in World War II reappear in force. One of your favorite Buzzkillers, Professor Phil Nash, gave us a very full and comprehensive analysis of D-Day last week, but I've noticed that a lot of well-worn and overused quotes about World War II have been plaguing the airwaves and the interwebs in the week following June the 6th. No doubt because of the anniversary of D-Day. You remember, Buzzkillers, some of the crucial elements of the D-Day invasion were the participation of all the Allied countries and the opening up of a Western Front against Nazi Germany. And much is made of the fact that it was the first major American invasion in Western Europe. Now, our favorite quote magnate, Winston Churchill, is often described in the popular press as being frustrated that the United States was late getting into the war. Remember, D-Day's 1944. The war starts in 1939. And the quote that expressed this frustration, but also expressed his relief that the Americans had joined the rest of the Allies, at least as far as northwestern Europe was concerned, is, Americans can always be counted on to do the right thing after they've exhausted all other possibilities. The exact wording of the quote varies a little bit from time to time, but it essentially conveys the same message. Americans are a self-interested people, but they eventually do the right thing. But did Churchill ever say this, or even something like it? No. At least he never said it publicly, and there's certainly no evidence that he ever said it privately. Like dozens and dozens of other political quotes, they get attached to Churchill somehow. It's as if he's standing on a busy street corner and passers-by keep slapping unattributed quote bumper stickers on him until he rivals Shakespeare and the Bible for the world quote record. Not only was Americans can be counted on to do the right thing and on and on and on, not said by Churchill, it wasn't even said during World War II. And the original quote didn't reference Americans or America specifically. While on a visit to Japan in 1967, Israeli diplomat and politician Abba Eban was asked whether he thought that tensions and war between Israel and its neighbors would decrease over time. He replied that he thought hostilities would lessen over the years and that, quote, men and nations behave wisely when they have exhausted all other resources, unquote. As with so many other quotations about international relations or strife between countries, this quote drifted towards Churchill in the 1970s and arrived at its destination in the early 1980s. By that time, men and nations had been replaced with Americans or America, depending on which version of the quote you hear, and the rest of the quote had been tinkered with somewhat. But it had definitely landed on the shores of Churchill quotes and has been heading inland in the popular consciousness ever since. But as we say here at the Institute, we shall fight historical myths and quote misattributions on the beaches. We shall fight them on the landing grounds. We shall fight them in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight them in the hills. We will never surrender. And that's pretty good, Buzzkillers. I wonder where I've heard it before. Talk to you next week.
Epicast.